I'll tell you the truth, neighbor. The night she called 911 to have me removed from my own porch, I was standing there with my father's folded flag in my hands, wondering what kind of country we'd turned into. That's how it started. Blue lights crawling slow up my gravel drive. Crickets went silent. My dog froze beside me, tail stiff as a fence post. 2 deputies stepped out calm, steady hands raised just enough to show peace. And behind them, that white SUV, the HOA president everyone calls her. Karen, hands on hips like she owned the horizon. She jabbed her finger toward my porch and said, "My son needs this property. He moves in tonight." I laughed not because it was funny, but because disbelief is sometimes the only sound pride can make. Now, let me back up a bit. This ranch ain't fancy 32 acres of walnut grove, open pasture, and a weathered porch where I drink coffee and thank God for another sunrise. My granddad fenced this land himself in the 50s. My father taught me how to read the creek line where the north boundary bends like a lazy snake, and how to drive a post so deep it'll still be standing long after I'm gone. When Dad passed, I lowered his flag for a week. When I raised it again, I swore I'd keep this land standing no matter who tried to take it. We're a few miles outside the newer subdivision stone gates, manicured lawns, and a shiny new HOA. I've never been part of it, but when Karen got elected president, their rules started stretching like kudzu, and suddenly my ranch was within their visual boundary. First came the letter, a compliance notice. Wrong address. Wrong parcel number. Said my barn roof violated their aesthetic standards. I called. "Polite as I could, ma'am. I'm not in your HOA," she said. "Aesthetic standards apply to any property visible from the community." I hung up, framed the letter, called it my souvenir of crazy. Then came the drive-bys. Her white SUV idling by the fence line, camera phone out like a badge. She started sending fines in my mailbox. Paper, as if it could move a fence post. I ignored it. Until the day she came while my mom was visiting. Mom was on the porch swing, knitting a baby blanket. Karen marched up with a tape measure in hand. "Measured my flagpole. Too high," she said. I stepped between them. "You're trespassing," she fired back. "I'm protecting property values." Mom's hands trembled so bad the needles clicked together like teeth. That's when it stopped being annoying and became personal. I drove to the county office, pulled old plat maps, the ones engineers drafted by hand, found the deed Granddad signed in 1957. Then I hired a surveyor, good one. He walked the property and planted bright orange stakes all around it, little beacons marking our boundary. Next, I put up a new sign, "No trespassing." Not because I needed to, but because sometimes you've got to put your words in the ground to remind yourself you still have a voice. A week later, at the feed store, my buddy Pete leaned close and said, "You didn't hear it from me, but Karen's boy is drowning in mortgage debt. Developers promised him a job if he can get an access road cut through your east pasture." That pasture, my father's favorite, the one where we used to mend fences at dawn. Suddenly everything made sense. The letters, the drive-bys, the aesthetic violations. This wasn't about color schemes, it was about a shortcut through my legacy. 5 days later, I caught a man in a reflective vest setting flags in my pasture. "County survey?" I asked. He swallowed. Contracted by the HOA, I took a picture of his truck and told him to leave. He didn't argue. That night I heard tires crunching on gravel. Then the flash of blue lights. The deputy stepped out. "Sir, we got a call about a domestic property dispute." I nodded toward her SUV. "Deputies, this is my land. I'm not in their HOA." I handed them my deed and survey. They studied the papers. One deputy, Ramirez, walked the line of orange stakes glowing like low stars. Karen folded her arms. "My son has an immediate occupancy need. We have HOA priority on available housing." Ramirez blinked slow. Ma'am, this isn't part of your HOA. She scowled. It will be annexed. His mental health requires peace and quiet. I bit my tongue. Anger rose like heat under floorboards. But I remembered Mom's shaking hands and steadied my voice. Deputies, she's been harassing us for weeks. Filming, trespassing, and now filing a false 911 call. Ramirez nodded. Ma'am, false emergency calls are a crime. Then to me, you've got grounds for a protective order. The cruisers pulled away. The night went still again, crickets. Wind, peace. But I knew she wasn't done. Next morning, I called my lawyer, quiet man local. The kind who knows every bench squeak in the courthouse. We sent a cease and desist letter to the HOA board. With maps and certified survey data attached a week later, their attorney admitted in writing that my land was outside their jurisdiction. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then came a new HOA notice. Special meeting to discuss annexation of adjacent properties for community safety. That word safety can justify just about anything. I showed up. Ball cap, denim jacket, folder under my arm. Karen sat at the front, gavel ready, her son leaning against the wall, scrolling his phone. Neighbors whispered as I walked in. She called the meeting to order. We need access for emergency vehicles through the ranch. Someone spoke up. That's private land. She smiled. The community has interests. Stood. Name's Tom. My family's worked that land since 1957. I'm not in your HOA. And I'm not joining. You're not annexing a working ranch without consent. She slammed the gavel. Non-members can't speak. From the back, a voice. Let him talk. Another. He's the one you called the cops on. The room murmured like thunder over hills. I unfolded the big map. Held it high. This is county property. This line is mine. That line is yours. I respect your rules. You respect my fence. Then I played a clip from my trail camera, her SUV at my gate, her son pacing the fence with a clipboard. His voice on video, we'll have to push him out. The road goes here. The room went silent. Karen sputtered. That was a safety check. The board member cleared his throat. We were not informed of any inspection. Another whispered. This is bad. Then my lawyer stood up from the back. We have documentation harassment, false reporting, and trespass. Either you agree now to cease all contact, reimburse survey costs, and issue a written apology, or we proceed to court. Silence. Then, a man in the second row, gray-haired, calm, spoke up. I'm a retired county planner. Annexation doesn't work like that. And an HOA can't seize private land. He turned to Karen's son. And you can't use your mother's office to fix your money problems. Something broke in that room, not in me. But in her spell, 10 minutes later, the board reconvened. The vice president read aloud, annexation withdrawn. Formal apology to Mr. Tom. Reimbursement approved. President suspended pending vote. Karen slammed her gavel so hard it cracked. Then she stormed out, her son right behind her. Justice doesn't always sound like applause. Sometimes it's just the creak of a chair as you finally exhale. They mailed the apologies, sealed, notarized. The HOA covered my legal and survey costs. The sheriff filed her false 911 report. I didn't press charges. Not because I couldn't, but because I wanted my life back. I built a new ranch gate with a keypad-only family knows. The trail cameras stayed not out of fear, but out of wisdom. A month later, found a handwritten envelope in my mailbox. I'm sorry. I let my problems make me someone I'm not. It was from her son. I folded it and placed it in a drawer beside my dad's old pocket knife, and the first arrowhead I ever found as a boy. Symbols of the ground we stand on and the choices we make to protect it. Now, when the evening wind moves through the walnut trees, the leaves clap softly like old friends. My dog naps by the porch steps, and the flag. It still waves against the setting sun, steady, proud, alive. That's how peace returns. Not with noise, but with small ripples fading to calm. Here's what I learned, neighbor. People will test your lines on a map and in your heart. Your job is to know where they are and stand there. Have you ever faced an HOA like this? Share your story down below. I read every one. And if you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe. And let's stand up together.